So here is the mayor of New York, the current mayor of New York, Eric Adams, telling people you have to get folks back in the office because it's good for the economy. Listen to this.
January, February, March, April, 4 months of not having this business patronized, not having a restaurant patronized, not having business travelers come here to the city to go to our hotels. That is going to be devastating for our economy. And I don't know if my businesses are sharing with their employees. You are part of the ecosystem of this city. My low-skilled workers, my cooks, my dishwashers, my messengers, my shoe shine people, those who work in Dunkin' Donuts, they don't have the academic skills to sit in a corner office. They need this. We are in this together. And we should be saying to ourselves, if I remotely do my job, then that stock clerk is not going to be able to have the business he deserves. That's what I need us to understand. This is not a separate thing. To get through this, we have to get through this together.
Amisha, there's so much to unpack here. Let's start here. I know people who work in a stockroom, who are messengers, who are dishwashers, who have been dishwashers, and they had the quote unquote academic background because they got out of school and they were forced to work these quote unquote low wage jobs, these quote unquote low skill jobs. Let me tell you something. Working in a stockroom takes skill. It's backbreaking. I know people who literally have taken these jobs that he's talking about in restaurants and they are degreed out of their mind. So there's that. And also, don't we pay taxes for our local government to take care of us? Doesn't New York City have the money? Where not once time did he talk about what New York City can do to take care of people who are not able, who work in these areas that depend on people coming in, buying this, buying that. So basically what he's saying is some people are going to get sick. Some folks might die, which is what the lieutenant governor of Texas said, mind you. But just go ahead and deal with it because we got to have y'all spending as much money as possible on your lunch break. I mean, come on, this is just cruel. And just how out of touch are you? How out of touch are you? Yes, we of course want folks to go back in, but let me say this, then I'll let you jump in, Amisha. What I see with Mayor Eric Adams is that I just feel like he wants to go backwards, whether it's stop and frisk, whether it's the police plainclothes unit. This is a new dawn. It's a new day. We're moving into a world now, and I think it should have been this way eons ago, where we don't have to have people packed in an office all day, every day, commuting an hour and a half, 2 hours to work, on top of each other, underpaid, overworked. And mind you, working from home, they're still going to text you or call you, your boss, all hours of the day. You're still going to have high demands. There's been tons of studies to say there's still been high productivity, even with folks working from home, right? We're going to a new era right now. So Mayor Eric Adams, I know you may not have transformative future ideas when it comes to policing, but the days, hopefully, of being overworked and underpaid in an office for hours and hours on end, hopefully that has changed. And maybe there's maybe some of these, maybe now people will use more of their local delis in their home and their neighborhood versus being in downtown Manhattan when you're overcharged anyway, paying $20 for a damn chicken sandwich. So innovative. We're going to someplace different. And how unfortunate that the mayor of New York City is not able to see that and wants to go back to how folks are being exploited, underpaid, overworked. And then lastly, let's be clear, some folks who've been forced to go into work, the boss, the higher up, he ain't going in. She ain't going in. The VP isn't going in. But the folks who are crammed in a cubicle, they've been forced to go in. I just think it's bad leadership. Go ahead, Amisha.
No, it absolutely is. And the other part I was going to say is that it also strikes a chord of classism. And we know that
Yes.
classism exists very strongly across this country, and the Black community is not immune to that. I think that from what we see from Eric Adams, who, mind you, has a D in front of his name when he ran for office, it's very frustrating because just 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, we called those same workers essential workers. We did not call them low educated or ill informed or whatever. We did not refer to them in those types of stark skills, low skilled workers. We called them that's basically our workforce that keeps America moving, fully recognized. But with that being said, they don't have the right amount of PPE. We know that the Omicron variant, as we talked about in the last segment, is highly transmissible. Even to the best of your efforts, you can still get it. Ensuring that those individuals not only are vaccine boosted, but also have the masking, that the sanitary, qualities are in place, that there's proper ventilation, that they're going to be able to go into their workforce every day and be safe. Because at the end of the day, to your point, Clay, these individuals are more than their work product. They are not just cogs in the wheel. They have families back home. They have children. Many of them are taking care of elderly parents. Many of them live in homes that are multi-generational. Many of them, even if that's not the case, this is the city of New York. They live with roommates. Hell, it's hard to live by yourself in one of the highest cost markets in the country. So I think that we have to take these things into consideration, but also the innate privilege to speak from, to even be able to work from home. Because let's be real, there are hundreds of thousands of jobs where working from home is just not an option. And those individuals are placing themselves on the line each and every day, no matter how many variants come out. They still got to go to work. They still got to keep food on their table and the lights on. So I think that they are very highly aware of the dangers they're put in every day, and they're counting on their elected leadership, people like Eric Adams, to understand that and to ensure that there's a certain level of safety. At the end of the day, what he's saying is, these businesses, these profits, ensuring that our city keeps running and that money keeps, churning hands, is more important than the lives of these workers. He talked about them as though they were dispensable. And I don't necessarily know whether he did it purposely, but I do know that the chord that he rang from that shows something about his character, because nowhere in that conversation did we hear him backtrack or hear him try to, make this sound however he wanted it to sound. So at the end of the day, I feel like he has no problem with shutting down people in these positions, largely who are women and women of color, be it Black or Latino, oftentimes single moms as well. He took no issue with shutting these people down, many of which were also his voters, and basically hanging them out to dry. That's a huge problem in the face of a variant that it seems like, is spreading like wildfire. And the best possible means at this point isn't necessarily trying to eradicate or prevent COVID as much as it is trying to mitigate the disaster that seems to come from it. Because not everybody has 5 days that they could take it home. Like I said, last week, 4 or 5 days, I was out, period. Not everybody in one of these jobs, these low wage jobs, these jobs that are not paying them $15 an hour, $12 an hour in some cases either, they don't have paid leave. They don't have paid sick leave. They cannot just stay home for days at a time and count on being able to make ends meet. So we have to be very real and earnest in what we're talking about here.
And, I just think of maybe the person who's been at some job for the past 10 years, worked their ass off constantly, overworked by their boss, getting pennies in a raise once every 2 or 3 years. And then finally, this pandemic comes along, which is horrific, which is crazy. But finally, they're able to do this work from home. And maybe they feel a bit less exploited. Maybe they feel not as overworked, right? Having a little bit of more freedom at home, still doing incredible work, still getting the job done. I know there's tons of listeners out there who feel that same exact way. And to hear the mayor say, well, you have to go in, versus just taking care of the people who are, quote unquote, these low skilled people who don't have the academic skills, whatever that means, right? Versus taking care of them. It's have them go in and listen. The funny thing about it is that I know plenty of people who worked in downtown Manhattan. They didn't even have the money to go to some overpriced deli and spend. I know folks who are packing food to work like they are, in school. A brown paper bag lunch. It's so thoughtless. It's so thoughtless. I really want Eric Adams to be forward thinking. We can't go back to the way it was before COVID. Times have changed. Times have changed and we have to be forward thinking. Our leader has to be forward thinking to give different outlets and different resources to people, because folks don't want to go back to that chaotic, that stressful, quote unquote normal back then. The microaggressions that Black folks and women experience on the job. I have read countless articles saying I just have so much, my mental health is better, that I'm not up under my boss and my coworkers, the way that I was being treated. It is better. And some folks just resigned in general and just moved on because they don't want to go back to
still going on.
Yeah. So Mayor Eric Adams.
Eric Adams is sounding a whole lot like Southern Republican governors right now. Period.
Hey.
If you were to just mask him, put a paper bag over his head, at the end of the day, he sounds just like Governor Greg Abbott. He sounds just like the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. He sounds like Southern governors right now. He is willing to throw people to the wolves in a global pandemic to be able to keep what he considers his city running based on profiteering. The end. The entire reason why we've seen, we heard from, the Delta CEO and other CEOs over the past week trying to reduce the amount of time, even for individuals who have tested positive for COVID, reduce the amount of time they're in isolation and away from work, is literally because they want them to get back. They see them as part and parcel of them making millions, even though these individuals are not. And that's essentially what this is. This is a business class that is trying to utilize the worker class, even if that worker class is literally dying. They don't
right.
care.
And again, the owners of these businesses, these CEOs, they ain't going in. They ain't going in. They're like, oh no, I'm good. Y'all go in, but not us. Y'all know how this works. They're not going in. And the other thing he said too, he said tourism, which really has nothing to do with folks going to work, not 9 to 5. Y'all may not know, Broadway shows have been shutting down, domino effect, over and over and over, just shutting down. And some Broadway shows are closing. And I wish I had his name in front of me. I saw one Broadway actor on Twitter. He was responding to folks who were angry that Broadway was shutting down. He said, I am an HIV positive performer. I have a compromised immune system. Don't be mad that these shows are being shut down, because I can't afford to get sick. I can't afford it for your enjoyment and your tourism. I can't afford it. So listen, New York is a tough city, man. It's tough. It's a rough city. And the last thing we need is a leader to fight for exploitation in the name of your ridiculous capitalism. Why don't you work on having some kind of cap on how much the rent is per square footage in New York City? Why don't you work on what's called Con Ed, lowering their electric bill? Why don't you just be an innovative leader? So it really pisses me off. How sad for him. And then he says that, and you're going to have some employers. Well, the mayor said it. Bring your ass in. Bring your ass in.
Yeah, he sets the tone. At the end of the day, the tone that he set was that it doesn't matter. You need to go to work. And again, the positions that he's mentioning are positions where paid leave isn't an option. I know people who are sick, who literally have to go back 2 days after they tested positive. Of course, they're not well. Of course, they're still contagious. These employers do not care. And what we saw from Mayor Adams is that he honestly doesn't either. And he is literally giving them clearance to act in that way.